What is up, guys? So I get a lot of questions about the iPhone 7 and should you buy it, and should you use this if you have an Android phone and you want to get into iOS for cheap. And this is a super solid phone for that. Now I picked mine up on eBay for around 130, and they sell them on Amazon, the renewed version, for around 146, which is a solid price for this phone because it actually still does a lot that the newer phone does. So I use this phone probably a little bit more than the iPhone 11 just because I just really like the size of this phone. One of the things that pops out the most is probably the dated design. You just have super huge bezels up front. It just looks extremely dated, kinda, but it is what it is. It's not the worst looking phone, but definitely is starting to show its age in 2020. So the display itself isn't that bad. It's a 4.7-inch display. It's 750 by 1334. It's a decent display for this size. Looks fine to my eyes. It's an IPS display, 326 for the PPI, and it gets pretty bright outdoors as well. So no issues with this display. Watching videos and stuff on it is fine, if you like smaller phones. So I really like the idea of just using this with like a flagship Android phone, and then having your iOS device for your friends that want to FaceTime or iMessage or whatever. This actually will still do that. It runs the latest version of iOS 13, so that is really awesome. One of my favorite things about this phone, and one of the things that I really admire Apple for, is supporting their older phones. So you do have the Apple A10 Fusion chip, which is pretty fast. This thing is able to play all of the games that I like to play. It supports Fortnite, PUBG, so it actually plays these games at, I think, high settings the last time that I checked, except for Fortnite, I believe, but it does support Fortnite. It doesn't play it at high settings, so this could be a little decent, little compact gaming phone as well. So this does not have expandable storage, which sucks because you only get 32 gigs of storage, which, I mean, that's not enough these days, but I guess back in the day you could get away with that. But these days, I think 64 is probably the minimum that most people would be interested in. So like I said, a good companion phone, but if you don't download a whole bunch of apps and music, then 32 gigs might be enough. But if you take a lot of videos and photos, that might not be enough. You do have 2 gigs of RAM, but this phone is extremely smooth. So even though it has kind of like low RAM, I never really noticed stutters with this phone when switching applications and stuff like that. Of course, it's not going to keep everything open, but not a whole bunch of stutters with this phone. It runs relatively smooth. So you do have one camera on the back. It's a 12 megapixel wide, shoots in 2160p 30 fps, and you also have a 7 megapixel standard on here that shoots in 1080p. And the cameras are pretty decent, as you can see from these stills. It's not the worst camera in the world. So it's on par with phones around this price point. It's not terrible, but as far as the cameras goes, it's great for FaceTime and stuff like that. I've used it. Everything is fine still, so it's not like going to be an awful camera for that. So you have stereo speakers on here, which are decently loud, which I always appreciate stereo speakers on these devices, so that's really nice. You also have NFC or Apple Pay for mobile payments. You also have Touch ID on here, which again is fast, no real issues with that. So I really like this phone. Still, what do you guys think about the iPhone 7? Be sure to let me know. I think it's a super solid phone as like a backup phone. So definitely you can use this as your main phone as well too. It's super solid, it has nice hardware. It actually is IP67 dust and water resistant as well. So what do you guys think about the iPhone 7? Be sure to let me know. I'll catch you guys in the next one.